what the hell is going on downstairs?
It shocked me right off the bat because she had her hands up, but she had the knife in her right hand above her head. This was definitely the worst crime scene that I had dealt with in my career.
Twisted so that the metal bent.
Kevin, do you know anything that was happening at the house? Hang on a sec. We just talking about his wife's work.
Why is he not cooperating with us? What is he hiding from us?
Anything coming back?
Recall coming out of the bedroom with a in your hand?
No.
Were you and Lisa in the process of going through a divorce? Okay, now we're getting outside the scope.
That was a miracle. I mean,
Imagine a love story collide with cold murder in the most shocking way possible.
I'm still Lisa to death with the cooperation and planning with Kevin Knievel.
A troubled teenager, a twisted affair.
I was massaging his inner thighs because of him being a truck driver and having pain.
And a husband willing to do anything for a life insurance payout.
She would be worth more dead than alive.
This is the chilling tale of betrayal and murder that you won't believe actually happened.
When a foster father when needed to be, and when a lover when not being a foster father.
This is the story of Sabrina Zunick, how she killed her mother and why she fell in love with her father. Welcome back to our channel, where we unravel the most sinister crimes and the haunting secrets behind them. We dive deep into the shadows of the human psyche, exposing the darkness that lurks within. If you're captivated by true crime stories that reveal the shocking truth, you're in the right place. Don't just watch, take action, share this story to spread awareness, and leave a comment below with your thoughts on the case. Should Kevin have faced even harsher consequences? And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you never miss an update on cases that demand your attention. Sabrina Zunick was born on October 27, 1994, near Cleveland, Ohio. Her parents, Susan Edwards and Mark Zunick, never married but shared a rough history. When she was still a baby and being bottle-fed, they would sometimes put vodka in her bottle just to get her to sleep. Sabrina's childhood was anything but stable. Because of this, she developed some serious behavioral and mental health issues. She was diagnosed with ADHD, oppositional defiance disorder, bipolar disorder, anxiety, and depression.
Were you taking medication for that?
What?
For having those type of thoughts?
I mean, I guess it's contributed with the fluctuating moods. And the bipolar, it just straight shots down into depression.
Okay.
And I haven't had any problems. My meds have been constant. Since when I got there, I was on 9 meds. And they're all very high dosages. Now I'm down to 2. The 2 haven't changed in about...
That's a lot for a kid to deal with, and she was on 9 different medications to manage these conditions. Pretty overwhelming for someone so young. In 1984, Sabrina's mother, Susan, pleaded guilty to grand theft for scamming the Cuyahoga County Welfare Department out of nearly $2,000. She got 6 months in prison and 5 years of probation. By the time Sabrina was born, her father already had several arrests for drug and alcohol-related driving offenses and disorderly conduct. When Sabrina was just 16 months old, Mark was arrested for domestic violence. So from the start, Sabrina's life was surrounded by turmoil. Sabrina's parents didn't live together, so she bounced back and forth between them. But when her mom was in jail, she stayed with her dad. Most of her childhood was spent living with her father and grandmother in a small house on Regent Road in Wickliffe, Ohio. The house was pretty much on the radar of local law enforcement. They were called there regularly because of Mark's drunken, often violent outbursts. As Sabrina entered her teenage years, things took a turn for the worse. Her grandmother, who had been caring for her, was getting older and her health was starting to fail. Just as Sabrina was hitting puberty and becoming a young teenager, she started acting out in ways that were too much for her grandmother to handle. Sabrina was getting into fights at school, stealing from her grandmother, and just causing a lot of stress. By the time Sabrina was 14, it was clear her grandmother couldn't cope. No other relatives were willing to take her in, so she ended up in the foster care system. Sabrina's life was pretty rough. She bounced from one foster home to another and even spent time in group homes. However, in 2011, things started to look up when she was placed with Lisa and Kevin Knofel, a loving family who genuinely cared about her. With the Knofels, Sabrina began to show signs of improvement. She was a special education student, but the progress was significant compared to what she had been getting before. It's amazing how quickly kids can turn things around when they're given structure, support, and just a bit of care. Her behavior improved too. Sabrina even started talking about pursuing a career in massage therapy. She got along well with her two foster sisters, Megan and Haley, and it seemed like she was finally finding some stability. Lisa was born on May 20th, 1971, in Reynoldsburg, Ohio. Before marrying Kevin Knofel, Lisa had a daughter from a previous relationship. In 2006, she married Kevin. Together, Lisa and Kevin had a daughter in 2009. Kevin worked as a truck driver, while Lisa was a social worker with the Department of Children and Family Services. Lisa had a passion for helping others, especially children. She really believed in Sabrina and wanted her to succeed. That's why she and Kevin decided to become foster parents, further showing Lisa's deep commitment to helping kids in need. Kevin Knofel was doing pretty well for himself. He made nearly $51,000 a year driving a truck out of Cleveland. And on top of that, he earned another $19,000 working for a bus company. The family was living a comfortable middle-class lifestyle. As Sabrina got closer to turning 18, she hoped the Knofels would let her stay with them until she graduated from high school. The foster care system has this big flaw where kids age out when they turn 18, and then they're just left on their own. At first, things were going smoothly in the Knofel household. Lisa and Kevin were on board with letting Sabrina stay past her 18th birthday, thinking it would be a good way to help her finish high school. The family seemed to be getting along well, almost like a big, happy, blended family. But it didn't take long for things to change. Sabrina started becoming more aggressive with Megan, Lisa's daughter, and the two girls were often fighting, especially over their little sister Haley. This wasn't just typical sibling rivalry, it was more intense.
Do you feel safe where you're at now?
Yes.
With Lisa and Kevin?
Yes.
And Megan and Haley? How'd you get along with Megan and Haley?
Haley is my everything. I love her.
Okay.
Megan, she's bipolar also. So me and her were up and down, but I've never done anything to her, ever, nor had thoughts. I mean, I'm a very nice, giving person, but they will tell you that when it's someone that won't lie to you. I don't do anything to hurt people. And Megan constantly treats me like complete crap, but I go back to her and I help her with things. So I'm accepting of people. Get where she's coming from with the bipolar. I was there too, I told her so.
Lisa also noticed that Sabrina seemed to be getting very close to Kevin. According to Sabrina, Kevin was the only one in the house who really liked her. Sabrina started resenting Lisa's rules and restrictions, finding it easier to talk to Kevin. She felt like Lisa treated her biological children better. Things got so strained that Lisa told her friends she was planning to make Sabrina leave in January 2013, right after she turned 18.
Me and Lisa have never been the best. I mean, I've never tried to hurt her, never had any thoughts of hurting her. Yeah, it's been emotional and mental abuse from her to me. She put her hands on me, not fighting, but restraining me because I wouldn't give an iPod to her. And I don't know. She never seemed to like me, and she's been wanting me out of the house.
In situations like this, it's almost expected that Sabrina might get closer to Kevin, the father figure in the house. Lisa definitely started to feel uneasy about the relationship between her husband and Sabrina. She began overhearing conversations that suggested a level of closeness that hadn't been there before.
How do you get along with Kevin?
Kevin and me are cool. I mean, he's more the one that helps me out. Because this was Megan to deal with. Megan has mental instabilities herself.
Okay.
And so we made agreements a long time ago that if I need anything, that I can go to Kevin. And if it was major that she needed to be involved in, then he would ask, but not to be concerned about small things. And it's already stretching her out for Judd and Haley and Megan.
Now some kids naturally gravitate towards a father figure, especially if they feel like their mom, or in this case, foster mom, is constantly on their case about school, chores, and following the rules. Then things took a turn on September 15th, 2012. Law enforcement got a call to head over to the Knofel residence. Kevin met the officers outside and explained that he'd called them because of a domestic dispute with Lisa. Apparently, they'd been arguing about Megan's behavior, and things had escalated. Kevin admitted to grabbing his stepdaughter Megan by the back of her neck and escorting her to her bedroom while still holding onto her by her neck. Lisa was furious about it and started shouting at Kevin, accusing him of choking Megan. So after that incident with Megan, Kevin did something a bit strange. He called the police to document what had happened, telling them he wanted it on record in case there was ever a divorce. He didn't want Lisa to twist the situation and try to use it against him in a custody battle over their daughter Haley. Now that's a pretty odd thing to bring up right in the middle of a domestic dispute. For him to be thinking about divorce like that, it makes you wonder where his head was at. A few weeks later, though, it looked like things were back on track. Kevin and Lisa went on a camping trip with some friends, and everything seemed fine, at least on the surface. But during that trip, Kevin confided in one of his friends that he was seriously considering filing for divorce. And just when you think things couldn't get any weirder, Kevin did something disturbing. He pulled out his phone and started showing his friend some photos. These weren't just any photos. They were pictures of Sabrina, his foster daughter, from what he called a fashion photo shoot. But it didn't stop there. Kevin told his friend that Sabrina had been buying him underwear. Now, at this point, Kevin's friend was seriously concerned and straight up asked if something inappropriate was going on between Kevin and Sabrina. The most shocking part? Kevin didn't confirm, but he also didn't deny it. His friend was appalled. And honestly, who wouldn't be? In the spring of 2012, Kevin and Sabrina's relationship took a troubling turn. Kevin, who often drove Sabrina to school, started with small gestures like holding hands and touching.
What was his relationship to you?
It was when a foster father when needed to be, and when a lover when not being a foster father.
Sabrina had dreams of becoming a massage therapist. Kevin, dealing with leg cramps, used this as an excuse for their growing intimacy.
I was massaging his inner thighs because of him being a truck driver and having pain.
In October 2012, Sabrina's friends were taken aback when she casually asked if they knew any hitmen who could her foster mother. At first, her friends thought Sabrina was just venting frustration. Meanwhile, Kevin was taking steps behind the scenes. He called Sabrina's caseworker to discuss the possibility of getting Sabrina placed with him if he and Lisa divorced. The caseworker mentioned it might be possible by the end of October when Sabrina turned 18. Lisa, on the other hand, was becoming increasingly suspicious of Kevin and Sabrina's relationship. She saw signs that something inappropriate was happening between her husband and Sabrina. The tension in her marriage was worsening, and Lisa was convinced that Sabrina needed to move out.
She wanted me out.
And she made those comments directly to you?
Yes.
To think that her husband, whom she trusted, could be involved with a child they had taken in for safety was devastating. Then one day, Sabrina and Megan got into an intense argument. This outburst was one of the reasons Lisa decided Sabrina needed to leave their home. Sabrina knew their relationship was beyond repair. On November 15th, Kevin drove Sabrina to school. During the ride, he broke down in tears, overwhelmed by his problems with Lisa. He told Sabrina he couldn't handle life with Lisa any longer. He was desperate and emotional, and Sabrina, still young and impressionable, was deeply affected. Kevin used this emotional moment to further manipulate Sabrina. He implied that Lisa needed to be removed from their lives. Sabrina felt a strong loyalty to him. She believed he was there for her when no one else was. Sabrina offered to Lisa herself. Instead of discouraging her, Kevin encouraged the idea. He then went home, packed a suitcase, and left for Michigan. Kevin's scheme was chillingly calculated. By leaving town and setting up an alibi, he hoped to evade responsibility. He intended for Sabrina, who was under his influence, to take the fall while he escaped the consequences. At around midnight on November 26, 2012, 13 years old Megan and 4 years old Haley was fast asleep.
Yeah. And then,
Remember what you were doing prior to getting to the ambulance?
no,
In Lisa's room?
getting meds. For my headache. And that's why I don't get it.
Was Haley there when you were getting the meds?
Was Haley in her room with Lisa sleeping?
No.
She was not?
No, he has her own room on the other side of the house.
Do you know what time Haley went to bed?
I don't. She's usually up and down. I think around 11.
Okay.
She usually is passed out by 12.
Were you still working on your project at that time? Were you working on a laptop or something there? That project for school?
British literature.
For what?
British literature.
Okay.
Okay, so what time does Haley usually go down to bed?
Well, they try and put her to bed at like 10.
Okay.
She'll fall asleep at 11 or 12.
Okay.
Sabrina claimed she stayed up late to finish her school project, and after she was done, she had difficulty falling asleep.
So last night you were in the office area working on your project.
Yes.
Haley went to bed in her room? Okay. What about Megan?
She's always in bed.
Okay.
By the time I get upstairs.
Alright, so she was upstairs sleeping?
Yeah, we're both upstairs in our rooms. We have separate rooms.
Okay. So what happened after she went to bed? Is Lisa still awake, or is Lisa sleeping at this time while you're finishing your project? When after Haley goes to bed and after Megan goes to bed?
I don't know. I have my earphones on the whole time. I don't know if she's
What are you listening to?
music.
Yeah. On what?
My laptop. As I'm going to British literature.
Okay. So you're listening to some music. You're not sure what's going on around you, basically.
No.
All right. And at some point in time, you say approximately midnight,
Yeah.
you go upstairs and try to go to bed, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
She goes to the master bathroom to get herself some Advil.
Some point in time, you don't know how long it's been. You can't go to bed because you've got a headache, correct?
Correct.
And the only place that there is any type of Advil or aspirin or ibuprofen is in Kevin and Lisa's bedroom, correct?
In the cabinet.
Right.
Over the toilet.
Okay. So you go downstairs, you go into Lisa and Kevin's room, you go open up the medicine cabinet, white bottle that says ibuprofen. How many did you take?
3.
3. How many milligrams are they?
I don't know. 250? I don't know.
Okay.
I just know what I take for my headache.
Okay.
It's the only thing we had.
All right. So you take 3 of those.
In the early hours of November 12th, 2012, Megan was jolted awake by barking dogs and screaming.
And I was like, what the hell is going on downstairs?
She ran to her mother's room and found Sabrina on top of Lisa.
So I walked down there and Bree's my mother to.
Megan tried to pull Sabrina off but couldn't. Desperate, Megan called 911.
And what is going on there?
I don't know, I just woke up.
Okay, who am I talking to now?
Her daughter.
Okay, and what's going on there? Who has the knife?
My sister.
Okay, does she still have
Hey,
it?
Mom? Okay? What happened?
Soon after the 911 call, a police officer arrived at the house. He saw a young woman rushing out of the front door, urging him to hurry. The officer went inside, down the hallway, and ordered Sabrina to come out with her hands raised. The officer secured her and took her to another room.
You remember?
When we came to the house, you had the knife in your hand.
Are you sure it wasn't self-defense?
Yeah.
I don't remember.
We had 2 police officers there that saw you with the knife and ordered you to drop it.
Did I?
Well, yes. You threw the knife down and they made you get on the floor and put handcuffs on you. Do you recall that part of it there?
Lisa's body was found in the master bedroom. Little Haley, just about 4 years old at the time, was found hiding in her mother's closet, scared and confused.
Remember Megan coming in?
No.
No? Remember Haley coming in?
Megan and Haley were both there?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So you're saying everything. So, what you're saying is true. You're telling me Haley and Megan saw me or her mother?
Mm-hmm.
Nobody needs to see that.
No.
You're right.
The investigators were stunned, trying to make sense of the horrific crime. What could have driven Sabrina to such a violent act? Sabrina was taken into custody. She was first taken to the hospital to tend her injured hands, and then she was brought to the questioning room for interrogation.
You should have told me I did it.
Yes. Most of that was probably hers.
That's why we need you to concentrate and think about what happened.
Sabrina claims she doesn't remember anything from that fateful night after she took the Advil pills. The investigators tried to jog her memory.
Anything coming back?
Recall coming out of the bedroom with a knife in your hand?
No.
Well, you had a knife.
I did.
Yes, you did. And Megan called the police.
That can't be true.
Bree, it is. I'm sorry.
I've never been a murderer.
Mm-hmm.
We need to know.
Sabrina never denied killing Lisa. What she was adamant about was that she does not remember how she did it and why.
How else would she have died if you're telling me she...
Well, either you did or you didn't.
What do you mean? That doesn't make sense.
I must ask you if you did.
I don't know.
Okay.
Out of the four of you that are in the house, okay? Your one's 3, your one's 13, you're 18, and then there's Lisa. Okay? What would be your explanation for what happened if you don't think you did this?
I don't know. I can't think straight.
Okay. Okay.
Sabrina's plan was to claim insanity as a defense strategy. Usually in such cases, the suspect usually also claims memory loss so that they do not implicate themselves any further during the investigation. The investigators are aware of this tactic, but they have to act lawfully, innocent until proven guilty.
You know policemen in uniform, right?
No.
None of that? You were arrested at the house.
I was?
In handcuffs, gunpoint.
Gunpoint?
Yes. Do you remember any of that? Let me just have you step back. You mind? Before you got in the ambulance, you were in the house, and the officers arrived. Megan was very scared and called us on the 911. Do you remember anything? You had their guns drawn. You were ordered to the ground. You had a knife in your hand. Do I remember that trigger anything else? Do you remember the girls? Do you remember anything in that bedroom, in Lisa's bedroom?
No.
I believe you were downstairs in Lisa's bedroom, right? Lisa, downstairs in the bedroom is where you were at.
In the bedroom.
And that's where Lisa was hurt. On the floor there. None of that. Remember.
In cases where the suspect claims insanity, the best course of action for the investigators is to prove that it was all premeditated. One such thing was the fact that Sabrina was wearing gloves during the attack.
What you were wearing. You remember putting gloves on?
Yes, because it was cold.
Okay.
That house was really cold, and I'm always cold. Anybody will tell you that.
Okay. So they're like little isotoner type gloves. They're real thin, but they're probably enough to keep your hands warm. Black?
Yeah, and I have them because I use my iPod. And that way I can use it.
Okay. Is that pretty normal? You like to wear those when it's cold out? When it's cold in the house, whatever?
I mean, I don't know. It just started getting cold now.
Yeah, okay. I understand.
And I'm always freezing cold. I'm starting to get a cold.
You remember having them on tonight? Okay. Well, that's a good thing. That's part of your memory. Remember you had your gloves on?
There wasn't much the investigators could extract out of Sabrina during the investigation.
I mean, for right now, we're still doing our investigation, but you're under arrest. You know, Lisa's dead, and it appears that you're responsible for that at this time. So that's what the charge is going to be. But at that point, you're going to spend the weekend in jail, the county jail. We're not going to stay here all weekend. All right? And you'll have a court hearing probably on Monday.
Sabrina has been arrested before, but this time she will be treated as an adult.
You ever been arrested before? What for?
I don't know. I have a juvenile record.
Yeah. Okay. We know you're no longer a juvenile, correct?
What?
You know you're an adult now, right?
You had a birthday in October?
Yeah.
Kevin's reaction was equally baffling. When the police called him, he sounded strangely indifferent. Even when he returned from Michigan, he showed little concern. He quickly lawyered up, and when he was brought into the interview room, his lawyer accompanied him. His lawyer made it very clear that his client is only there to answer questions about her wife's work and nothing else.
And then you told me you wanted to talk about his wife's work.
Correct.
That's the subject matter?
Yes.
So,
Kevin had a solid alibi, so investigators were hoping that he would proactively open up and help with the investigation.
Kevin, do you know anything that was happening at the house the night before you left for work that night?
well, hang on a second. We just talking about his wife's work. What's going on at the house the night before is not his wife's work.
Where does your wife work at?
County Children's Family Services.
What does she do there?
She was a social worker for the children's.
He was emotionless. Usually in such instances, the husband is usually in tears and always angry, but he was just blankly looking at the floor, making no eye contact with the investigators.
Were you and Lisa in the process of going through a divorce?
Okay, now we're getting outside the scope.
He insisted on seeing the crime scene, despite officers advising against it, warning him that it would be too traumatic. Kevin was adamant, asking for all the grisly details of the murder. To the investigators, Kevin's insistence on seeing the crime scene and knowing every gruesome detail was highly suspicious. It was as if he was more interested in the macabre details than in mourning his wife or seeking justice. Kevin drove straight to the Lake County Jail, determined to see Sabrina. When he was denied, his frustration boiled over. He slammed his fists on the desk and shouted, "I am her father!" His outburst was so intense that the officer in charge reluctantly added Kevin to Sabrina's visitation list, though he still wasn't allowed inside. After Lisa's funeral, Kevin's focus shifted quickly to her life insurance. As soon as he learned of her death, he began calling insurance companies, eager to get his hands on the money. It's not uncommon for people to contact insurance companies immediately after a death, as they often need the funds for funeral expenses. In cases like this, the urgency to access life insurance funds can be seen as a red flag, especially when combined with other questionable actions. For Kevin, his actions didn't help to calm the growing suspicions around him. His behavior seemed to confirm the worst fears and added yet another layer of complexity to the case. After Lisa's funeral, Kevin wasted no time accessing the insurance payout of $785,000. People couldn't help but notice how quickly he seemed to want to get his hands on the money. He called the insurance company multiple times a day, pushing for the payout as soon as possible. In the spring of 2013, Kevin took the money to Florida. He bought a house and several cars and even took flying lessons. He paid off the mortgage on their Ohio home, which had been in foreclosure, but continued to live there with his mother and young daughter, Haley. As information emerged about Sabrina's life after leaving the group home, a darker picture began to form. After Sabrina was locked up, she started talking. With Kevin gone and the cash spent, she was ready to spill the beans. It's odd how quickly the insurance payout came through, especially since usually they wait until the investigation's wrapped up. Sabrina said Kevin came up with the whole murder plan.
Did you engage in any other activity with the defendant about that topic at that time?
Yes.
And what happened?
about how to kill her.
Can you describe for us or give us an idea of exactly the statements that Mr. Knafel made to you about his wife being gone?
She would be worth more dead than alive.
He promised her a new life with the insurance money, like buying a house, paying for her college, and taking care of Haley. It seemed like a sweet deal to Sabrina, who really cared about Haley. But Kevin wasn't thinking about setting up anything for his own kids. Sabrina revealed how Kevin had manipulated her. They planned to kill Lisa while she was asleep. Kevin also suggested that if Sabrina got caught, she should claim insanity because of her mental health history and medication use.
And why did you do that?
Because I was doing what I was told to do.
Right, and who told you to do that?
Kevin.
Right. And why did you keep doing that?
Because I knew I was already going to jail.
Sabrina took responsibility but made it clear that Kevin was behind the whole scheme. Sabrina was still using meth during this time, and that might explain why her plan fell apart. Sabrina's lack of planning became clear. She didn't cover her tracks or try to make it look like anything other than what it was. It was a terrible plan, executed poorly, but she was young and troubled and clearly didn't think it through. Kevin had suggested staging the scene to look like a robbery, but things fell apart when Megan woke up to her mother's screams. Although there was no direct evidence of a physical relationship between Kevin and Sabrina, investigators found her story credible. Sabrina and Kevin exchanged around 2,000 texts in the month leading up to the crime. In contrast, Kevin only sent about 200 texts to his wife. The sheer number of messages between Kevin and Sabrina highlighted their close relationship, even though the FBI couldn't recover the text from Sabrina's phone. Detectives were looking for something solid to link Kevin to the crime. They asked Autumn, Sabrina's friend, to make recorded phone calls to Kevin, hoping to catch him confessing on tape. Kevin was cautious over the phone, saying little about the crime. Autumn's in-person attempt didn't fare much better. She wore a wire, but Kevin didn't admit to plotting the murder. 9 months after Lisa's murder, Kevin was arrested on August 9, 2013. He faced charges of conspiracy to commit aggravated murder, complicity to aggravated murder, and battery. Sabrina pled guilty to aggravated murder and became the key witness in Kevin's trial, which began in May 2014.
Are you knowingly, freely, and voluntarily pleading guilty to one count of aggravated murder?
Yes, Your Honor.
The prosecution's case largely relied on Sabrina's testimony.
Did you purposely cause the death of Lisa Knafel?
Yes, Your Honor.
And did you use prior calculation and design or planning in order to commit that murder?
Yes, Your Honor.
Other witnesses confirmed her relationship with Kevin. Kevin's defense team tried to cast doubt on Sabrina's credibility. They highlighted her mental health history, pointing out that she had been on medication since childhood. They also noted her past violent behavior, including school fights and previous threats. The prosecution's case relied heavily on Sabrina Zunick. After 9 hours of deliberation on June 11, 2014, the jury reached a guilty verdict. Kevin was sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole after 30 years. Sabrina received the same sentence. Kevin has since filed an appeal, but there's no update on its outcome. During the sentencing phase, Sabrina apologized to Lisa's loved ones and appeared genuinely remorseful. She's currently serving her sentence at the Dayton Correctional Institute and will be eligible for parole in 2042 when she will be 47. Kevin Knafel didn't just take away life. He corrupted a young mind, turning love into a weapon. Sabrina Zunick, while guilty, was also a victim of someone who saw her pain and exploited it for his gain. This case leaves us questioning not just the crime, but the deeper failures that led to it. It's a reminder that behind every headline, there's a story of human frailty and the dangers of unchecked power over the weak. Thanks for joining us on Where the Line Between Good and Evil is Never as Clear as It Seems. If this story resonated with you, give it a thumbs up and share it with others. Your voice helps bring these stories to light. And if you're ready for more deep dives into the world of true crime, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you're always the first to know when a new story drops. Stay vigilant, stay informed, and we'll see you in the next episode.